now continue with the exposition of the Hagada that we explained to Maharal. We welcome anyone who's hungry, and then the next phrase is that everyone who's in need should come and celebrate the Pesach. So the physical needs of people need to be seen first, but we have 49 times in the Chumash says you have to remember the exodus from Egypt when you were slaves in Egypt. This is the bread of affliction, which was the bread of the slaves who had no time, because they were forced to work until they dropped down. No time to even prepare their food properly. And it says constantly in the Torah that the people of Israel were taken through the terrible suffering in Egypt so that we would have it deeply ingrained in the awareness of the nation that if we have anything in life, if we have any material goods, if we have food, if we have wealth, our first consideration has to be to help those in need. Of course, we say, Aniye Mishpachtecha. If they are very poor people, in your own family that comes first, in your own city comes first, and then in your nation comes first, and then, if you can, you're able to do it, extend it further to other nations. This is the principle of the people of Israel. We can say this called the Fin Yeta V'Yachol, which is to be recited at the beginning of the celebration of the birth of the people of Israel from within enslavement. That power exists until today. That on the whole, in all communities, it's well known that Jews, they have, not all Jews, sometimes become too assimilated and become a bit miserly and don't want to give, but the majority of the Jewish people will always be ready to help those in need, whoever they are. But of course, there's priorities. A person shouldn't go and say, well, I'm going to help Jews all over the world, and then he neglects Jews in his own community who are poor. Or a person says, I'm going to only give things to the community, but he does not look after the poor and the afflicted in his own family. So this is the whole procedure of the Torah also. We've had the book of Bereshit, which preceded the birth of the nation of Israel, is filled with the concept that charity and kindness begins in the family, begins at home. And from there it's going to spread further. So that's called the Fin Yeta V'Yachol. Called the Tzreich is a spiritual poverty. Those who don't know what the Pesach is should invite them. And that's the second explanation here, called the Tzreich, anyone in need. Just like also Avraham Avinu, who is the father not only of the people of Israel, he is really the father who's introduced virtue and kindness to the whole world, to many other nations, other religions. So we have to follow the double message of Avraham Avinu, which was Hashem. The name also means does kindness to us constantly. We've got to do kindness for others, and this kindness, physical level, has to be seen too. but should be combined also with the spiritual level. But there's going to be no moral improvement amongst mankind. They're not going to reach a higher level to strive towards saintliness, then material existence as a society collapses. This has to go together. So this is the essence of the teaching of already of the Noachide code, and then also of the code which Avraham Avinu, when he took in guests, the classical model is the Bedouins, and even they're called by the later description, there were Arab travelers, Bedouin travelers in the desert, who were worshippers of idols. And he brought them into his tent, and he made sure they would have ability to refresh themselves and to have food and drink. And then, that was his method. All over the land of Canaan, that he built up Eshel, he built up places where people could stay, Achila, Shtia, and Lina, to eat and drink and stay overnight. And then when they wanted to thank him, he said, well, you don't have to thank me, because whatever I've given you is not mine. It all comes from the one who constantly gives all of us different foods and drinks and ability to set up a tent, a home. And in fact, the Midrash expounds on this a bit further. There was a certain person whom he helped a great deal, who came to him penniless, no ability to gain food and drink and have a home. They took him into his tent. And they tried for many, many months to bring him to thank Hashem. And he refused. He said, no, I don't believe in him. I believe in the idols. That's what training I received, and that's what I'm keeping to. And it's very nice of you, you give me everything, but I'll thank you, but I'm not willing to thank someone whom I don't know, and I don't want to know. So we're getting a bit crowded, because all the time there were people there, so this person, he asked him to find some other place, and make place for the others. We've only been here a short time, and I need to give them a bit. So Hashem appeared to him and said to him, if I keep this person on the earth, and I'm not ready to take him away from this earth, then you have no right to ask him to leave your home. Because you've got to be the model for everybody else. You've got to keep on trying. Because that's why I believe every human being has, deep inside, it's got divine image. You have to help. Try again and again. I'd like to apply this to a very encouraging headline I saw this morning. That the present situation, where unfortunately the whole world is suffering from, unfortunately, violence and cruelty in a terrible manner, in the name of Hashem, which is unbelievable. I mean, I think that's what God wants. Because if you read the Quran, it's clear that God does not want such a thing. They've got their distortions, and everyone is afraid. If they get hold of, they're trying to get hold of non-conventional weapons, then what's going to happen? It's terrible. And you can see how terrible they are. They had to, unfortunately, they were driven out of Tadmur, and their plan was they put all the whole area of Tadmor had to flee from there because they were conquered by the Arabs who tried to destroy them there. But it's well known that there are a lot of ancient monuments there and so on, religious significance, but they don't fit in with them, they destroy them. And the whole place is solidly filled with mines. Some of them they're trying to constantly use all methods possible to explode them. It turns out they were all supposed to explode in one go. That the others who would come in to take it in hand, they'll be blown up at once. And many of the different mines are difficult to get hold of. But there was a very hopeful sign from, I know the head, I don't know if it's president or whatever it is, of Qatar. Qatar is one of the richest Muslim states. And he said, he thinks, he wants to suggest it, that he doesn't believe in the two-state solution. He thinks the Muslims should recognize Israel because the Palestinians who are in Israel, they gain much more than they can gain anywhere else. Because Israel treats them as equals, basically, from an economic point of view. They have it easier, in fact, because they get all the health service and they don't have to go into the army without going to the army. And the people who are being damaged most by the BDS and the others are the Palestinians themselves, who've got no work now because of all the attacks they've made on the West Bank. And some of the businesses have had no choice but to leave the West Bank because of all these problems and to go into a different area. So the Palestinians are suffering more economically, and that's one of the main problems behind. So you do better. In any case, if you carry on, Israel is and will remain a democratic state with every chance that you'll become the majority. So let it become Israel. Let's all recognize Israel as a Jewish state, but Jewish Muslims, there's Muslims as well. And Muslims can also join in, they have equal rights. And they can become part of the Arab League. So we can all live at peace with them. That's come not from our side or from America, that's come from the Muslim state that, according to some, has made the greatest economic progress of all the Muslim states. Dubai. So, and Jews, you go to hospitals, what do you mean? The medical treatment that's given here to the Muslims, even some of them, even they've been partly involved in different attacks, is on the highest level. So that's called the Chriniyes of Yechon. We've got to add the second point, which I think the head of Dubai also recognizes. People have to be educated for a life of love and success and happiness instead of a life of constant threats and destruction and hate. That's it. That's Pesach teaches us. The essence of Pesach is called, the three festivals are like Chesed, Gvura, and Tiferet. That's Shalosh Regalim. The regel of Pesach is Chesed, Bitachet Avram Avinu. And then we add to this, Shat HaHocha, this year we are here, the Shon HaAvor, next year, Baral Israel, the land of Israel. So this year, this comes from the text of Babylon, where the Hebrews intermingled with Aramaic, which they knew better than Hebrew, some of the people. So therefore, instead of saying B'shon Hazois, they say Oshadro this year. We're here. Say here we're in America, or here we're in Europe, and some places where we're not threatened. Next year we're to be Eretz Yisrael. Oshata Avdei, this year we are slaves. Oshana Ba B'nei Chorim, and next year we hope to be free. And that's the essence of the Seder, is really expressed here. Because the Seder night is filled with contradictions that we'll see from the Vanishtana. On the one hand, we begin by saying the bread we're eating tonight is bread of affliction, bread of enslavement. But next year, we won't be slaves anymore. And also, therefore, we also have different customs which express on the Seder night we become transformed from enslavement to become free, physically and spiritually. To be Galut's Jews, that we're still tied to the Galut. Well, it's coming almost to half-half, but still I think there's still more Jews outside Eretz Israel, the physical Galut, but also the spiritual Galut. Some of us are still enslaved spiritually, but next year we hope to be really free, and this double aspect of the Seder night is expressed in these introductory words. As it's also expressed at the beginning of the Decalogue. It means not just the historical experience, but the destiny of the people of Israel is to establish Anochi Hashem Elokecha, that I am Hashem your God. This was really given over to all the nations to learn from the people of Israel. I took you out, Me'eretz Mitzrayim, Mibeit Avadim. So some explain, what's the double expression? We know the land of Egypt, we were enslaved. But the land of Egypt, Meitzah means a strait, a trouble, Tzarot. The land of troubles. I took you out, to become a free nation. But Beit Avadim means you felt at home in enslavement, which is not as a question of an actual backbreaking work as a slave, but a slave mentality that you feel, whatever you do, you feel enslaved to your instincts and to the lower aspects of the human lifestyle. But I'm taking you to a high level, spiritual level. So this double aspect goes all the way through the Hagada of Pesach. Do you have any questions on this?
Okay. Right, you speak about terror, murder, destruction. It's all over the world, right? Potential weapons of mass destruction in the hands of terrorists. Which leads me to the subject of prayer. On a communal level or a national level, Israel prays for the absence of terror, stabbings, different things. On an individual level, people pray for parnasa, shidduchim, children, healthy children, etc., etc. In many instances, on a communal level, as well as on an individual level, prayers are not answered. Yet God hears our prayers, right? If God hears our prayers, and we think that we know what we want, yet God is silent. Silence means no. Why no? Why when we pray, national Tehillim for release of hostages, whatever it is, and nothing happens? Other than the standard response that it's in God's hands and we don't understand, is there any human ability to reason why humanity's wishes, prayers, out loud, silently in your heart, why they're not answered? Other than, you know,
well, can I, because I have to make it short because this goes on Kol HaLashon. I don't know if they can hear your questions. So the question is, we live today in a time referred to by all the prophets as a double Hester, hiddenness of Hashem. He didn't answer all the prayers of Am Yisrael in the Holocaust, and today is also not answering the prayers of many that this aftermath, and to some extent relapse into some of the nation's attitude, not only towards Israel, but towards aspects of moral civilization, which has come in connection also with the people of Israel's heritage, that these prayers are not answered. So from the point of view of understanding history, it's true, and this is not only true today, it was the same in Egypt. Also, the prayers were not answered for quite a long time, until the salvation came in the end. And that is one of the lessons we learn from the Exodus from Egypt. The people prayed and they cried in different ways. They were not answered for quite a long time, because Hashem needs mankind to change in a deep manner. And prayers, the people, both individual prayers, do see today very frequently that individual sincere prayers are answered. Just have to, there are hundreds and thousands of people who through prayer, they find that their prayers are answered. Not only Jews, also Gentiles. Surveys have been made in recent times in hospitals for terminal patients, and they found that those where there was prayer, either with sick people themselves or other people who prayed for them, the rate of being saved from eternal death was different in a very high degree. So therefore today you can go by statistical evidence. Prayer does changes when people get more of a contact. I suppose it's got to be connected with a sincere desire for a person to change his attitudes to situations, to strengthen true faith, and to express that faith also in his relationship to others. If we're not sufficiently ready for it, so Hashem doesn't answer the prayers. What we know of the people of Israel today, I mean, it's quite, especially if we follow all the warnings given in the Chumash and given by the prophets and given by the sages, we're certainly far removed from the level of having broken through the barrier of our attachment to materialism. Each one on his level. And the attitude of many people is, today, both non-Jewish and Jewish, the main purpose of life is have fun. Enjoy yourself while you can. Try and get as much money as possible, as much pleasure as possible, even the expense of other people. And that's growing, that attitude is growing, unfortunately, and we feel the mass media are being used, unfortunately, for abuse of the human mind and the human feelings far more than the mass media, which could do so much to spread truth in the world. They spread falsehood and lies. They spread obscenity and pornography and self-centered pursuit of pleasure and power. And that's the mass media, that's the world of entertainment today. The people are stuck to it. The people are stuck to it at different levels, even in the yeshiva. It's the most terrible plague which exists for all of us. They get stuck to it. And then, as a result, they become self-centered animals with some intelligence. So to say that today, the day, why aren't our prayers answered? There's plenty of reasons for it. One doesn't have to look far. Even people who say, many people outside they're religious. Yeah, we say what these people have done. They're religious. They're brutes at the highest level. And what about us? Are we really religious? Do we really carry the awareness of Hashem in our mind? And do we live accordingly? We don't. Each one said we don't do enough. People who've been given education to go and spread the truth of Avraham Avinu and the truth of the Torah. Do we do enough? We also don't do enough. And we know quite well we should be attracting today thousands of young people to come back to Torah. And we don't do it. Speaking for myself, don't do enough. And certainly Hashem demands much more from us. So that's a brief answer to this question. We'll just make a little start on the next page, which I brought here for you. One of the most well-known aspects of the Seder night. Will everybody take a page? Please give them out. You haven't got them. I did ask someone to go and search for.
I couldn't find it though.
Huh? Couldn't find dozens of them. Just have to look for them.
I don't know where they are.
Yeah, okay. This is the Manishtana. The Manishtana, anyone who comes from some form of party tradition home will not have forgotten entirely. Manishtana laila zemikol halilot sheb kol halilot anoflen chomei zomatzo halayla hazeh halayla hazeh kulo matzah halayla hazeh kulo matzah. So, sorry my voice is going, but I'll just explain that the four questions, without now as yet going them more deeply, just say, but they illustrate four questions asked by a child that has already surveyed the Hagada before you come to the Seder table. Because there are things mentioned here that you can only say if you've either experienced the Seder before or you've prepared for it and you've read through the Haggadah. And the main question is, surely this night, our banquet habits are contradictory. Throughout the year, we can eat chometz or matzah, both types, leavened or unleavened. So why this night do we only have the matzah, the unleavened bread? And simply speaking, but we've said already before, the matzah is bread of affliction. So it's the bread of slaves. And you don't have time to bake bread. Just have, you have crumbs. Or if you're lucky, you have crackers, some sort, almost tasteless crackers. That's the type of matzah the slaves had to eat. Lachmanya. So why do we have this as even say a blessing on them? All other nights we can eat any vegetables, but on this night only bitter ones. Why? What's the reason for bitter herbs?
Slavery.
Did our lives.
It's explicit in the Chumash, because the enslavement was so bitter. And then, but to dip into hors d'oeuvres and other methods that, generally speaking, these extra foods to whet the appetite these are only given at more luxurious banquets. So it's like noble men sitting down to a banqueting feast. And the same applies to incline, to take it easy. It's like an armchair banquet where everybody is served. And so that's like noble men. So this is supposed to, how can we reenact being slaves and at the same time reenact being noble men? So that's the question. So therefore the answer is, exactly that's what happened. The first we were slaves, and then Hashem made us afterwards into a great people, which we celebrate. But when we celebrate, we have to remember the enslavement. The essence of Seder night is that in the Jewish people also have had times of fortune, times of affluence, also Jews individuals. In fact, they say, the anti-Semites, some of them say, we don't like the Jews because they're so rich. And they try to become more and more rich. And others, anti-Semites say, we hate the Jews because they live in slums, because they're very poor. You know, they go around ragged. And in caricatures, throughout the ages, Jews were characterized either as being too rich or being too poor, either being the dregs of society or being the big, powerful tycoons of society.
Rothschilds.
Yeah, even today it's like that. That goes on. So this is part of our destiny, that we must always remember when we're rich what it's like to be poor. And when we're poor, not to give up hope, for Hashem can make us rich. So we'll go into more other aspects of this in the next year.